My older brother, Sipo, always told me never to take the shortcut through the old sugarcane field after sunset. Everyone in their own town knew that land belongs to something else once the sun went down. But last Friday, I was late coming home from work and my phone battery was dead. It was dark and the rain was starting to fall hard. The main road would take me an extra hour to walk, looking at the narrow dirt path cutting through the tall green stalls. I made a choice I wish I could take back. I pulled my jacket over my head and walked into the field. At first, the only sound was the rain hitting the heavy leaves, the squelch of my shoes in the mud. The sugarcane grew higher than my head on both sides, blocking out the streetlights. It felt like walking through a green tunnel. I was about 10 minutes in when the rain suddenly stopped. Not a slow drizzle, it just ended suddenly. But the strange part was the wind. The leaves all around me started rustling loudly, snapping against each other, even though I couldn't feel a single breath of air on my face. I froze. That's when I heard the footsteps. Thump, drag, thump, drag. Something big was moving through the crops right next to me. Parallel to the path, it sounded heavy, like a man dragging a dead weight through the dirt. Who's there? I called out. My voice sounded small and weak in the quiet night. The footsteps stopped. I took a slow step backwards. Right away, the thing in the cane took a step forward. I stopped. It stopped. It was matching my movements, keeping itself hidden just a few feet inside the thick stalls. Sipo, I tried to laugh, hoping it was my brother playing a cruel joke. It's not funny, man. Then a voice answered me from inside the dark leaves. It sounded like my own voice. It had my exact pitch, my exact accent, but it sounded flat, like a recorded message played on a cheap speaker. It's not funny, man, the voice repeated back to me, word for word. A cold shiver ran down my spine. My knees felt weak. I turned around and started to fast walk back towards the entrance of the field. Behind me, the leaves crushed open. Whatever it wasn't walking anymore. It was running. I sprinted. I didn't care about the mud or the dark anymore. I just ran as fast as my legs could take me. The sound of snapping stalks was right on my heels. I could hear it heavy breath. I could hear its heavy breath, a wet, rattling sound right behind my ears. Up ahead, I saw a dim yellow glow of a single street lamp at the edge of the field. The exit was only 50 meters away. Suddenly, Something caught my ankle. I hit the wet ground hard, sliding through the mud, turning over just in time to see what grabbed me. It was an arm, but it was way too long. The gray skin was stretched tight over bone, and the fingers ended in sharp, dark nails that were dug into the leather of my boot. I looked up to see its face, but where a face should have been, there was only smooth, blank gray skin. No eyes, no nose, just a wide, straight line across the middle that slowly split open like flesh wound. Inside that slit, I saw rows of thin, sharp teeth. Help me, I screamed at the top of my lungs, kicking violently when with my free leg. My heel hit the creature right in its wrist. I felt a sickening crack, and the grasp of my boot loosened. I kicked again, scrambled my feet, and burst out of the sugarcane field, tumbling onto the paved street under the streetlight. I lay on the hot asphalt, gasping for air, looking back at all that dark wall of sugarcane. The tall leaves parted slightly. The blank gray head poked out just far enough to catch the light. It didn't step out into the road. It just stood there, watching me without eyes. Then the slit on its face opened up again, and my own voice came out of it, soft and clear. See you tomorrow. I pulled back into the It pulled back into the shadows and vanished. I ran all the way home, locked every door, sat in the kitchen until sunrise. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept since because every time night falls, I hear something dragging its feet on the grass right outside my bedroom window. I saw rows of thin, sharp teeth. Help me, I screamed at the top of my lungs, kicking violently when with my free leg. My heel hit the creature right in its wrist. I felt a sickening crack, and the grasp of my boot loosened. I kicked again, scrambled my feet, and burst out of the sugarcane field, tumbling onto the paved street under the streetlight. I lay on the hot asphalt, gasping for air, looking back at all that dark wall of sugarcane. The tall leaves parted slightly. The blank gray head poked out just far enough to catch the light. It didn't step out into the road. It just stood there, watching me without eyes. Then the slit on its face opened up again, and my own voice came out of it, soft and clear. See you tomorrow. I pulled back into the It pulled back into the shadows and vanished. I ran all the way home, locked every door, sat in the kitchen until sunrise. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept since because every time night falls, I hear something dragging its feet on the grass right outside my bedroom window. The dead road behind our village in Limpopo does not exist on any map, but everyone knows where it leads. It runs past the abandoned copper mine straight into the dark embrace of the sacred forest, where the giant baobab stands like twisted ancient guardians. My uncle, Malome Jackson, always told me that when the night winds carries the smell of damp clay and crushed marula fruits, you stay inside. You don't lock you lock the door. You don't look out the window. And above all else, you never answer if someone calls your name from the shadows. The Tokoloshi is just a story to make children behave. I had scoffed over the fire one evening, freshly back from my university semester in Johannesburg. I thought my city education has cleansed me of old superstitions. Malome Jackson had stared at me through the firelight, his dark eyes hollowed by the flickering orange flame. He said, "The spirit world does not care about your degree, Tabo. In the bush, the old things still rule." That was 3 nights ago. Tonight, I am sitting in the cab of my father's rusted Toyota Hilux, which stalled out on the very dirty road, 3 kilometers past the last house. The clock on the dashboard reads 11:14 p.m. The engine sputtered and died 20 minutes ago, leaving me drowning in a darkness so thick it feels physical. Outside, the crickets, which usually fills the night with a deafening hum, are dead silent. That is the first sign. In the veld, silence is not peace. Silence is a warning that a predator is near. I turn the key in the ignition. Click, click, but there's nothing. "Come on, you piece of junk," I whispered, my breath fogging the driver's side window. Then comes the smell. It swept through the truck air vents, a sickening mixture of rotting vegetation, wet fur, and iron. Blood. My stomach turned, and I pressed my back hard against the seat, every instinct screaming at me to lock the doors. I clicked the manual lock down, just as heavy thud echoes from the flatbed behind me. The entire truck shifts in suspension, rocking slightly to the left. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I freeze, staring into the rearview mirror. The red tail lights threw a faint, eerie glow over the bed of the buggy. At first, I see nothing, just my old toolboxes and spare tires. Then something moved. A silhouette raises slowly from behind the cab. It is small, n- not taller than a child, but its proportions are horribly wrong. Its shoulders are impossibly broad and hunching high around a, a necklace head. Long coarse hair met in its dark skin, and as it leans towards the rear window, the faint red light catches its eyes. They do not reflect light like a nocturnal animal. They glow from within, like two burning coals buried deep in ash. I put my feet up onto the seat, shivering violently. It is not real, I tell myself, a pathetic chant against the rising tide of terror. It's an animal, a baboon, a rogue hyena. Scratches. A sound like iron nails dragging across rusted metal scrapes along the roof of the truck, moving slowly from the back towards the windshield. The creature is crawling over me. I pressed my hand over my mouth to smother my heavy breathing. The metal roof flexes inwards under a weight that feels far too heavy for something so small. It stops directly above the driver's seat. Silence descends again. Seconds feels like hours. Slowly, terrifyingly, a face upside down slides into view over the top of the front windshield. It is a grotesque caricature of a man, its skin gray and leathery, pulled tightly over sharp bones. Its mouth hangs slightly open, revealing jagged yellow teeth. And from its throat comes a low, wet, clicking sound, like dry bones rattling in a bucket. It looks directly through the glass at me. Tabo. The voice does not come from the creature's mouth. It echoes inside my own head, raspy, ancient, and thick with malice. It sounds like my late grandfather's voice, but warped, stripped of all warmth. Tabo, open the door. Your mother is calling you home. No, I whisper, tears springing to my eyes. No, you are not him. The thing's face contoured into a wide, unnatural smile that stretches past its cheeks, tearing the dry skin at the corners of its mouth. A dark black sludge drips from its jaws, splashing onto the windshield. Sizzle, the liquid eats into dust on the glass like acid. It it raises a hand, a thick clawed paw with an extra joint in the fingers, and strikes the glass. A web of white cracks spread across the windshield, I scream, scrambling back into the passenger footwell, wedging myself beneath the dashboard as another blow shatters the safety glass into 1,000 dull crystals. Cold night air rushes into the cab, bringing the suffocating stench of decay with it. I hear the creature drop through the ruined windshield onto the dashboard. The plastic groans under its weight. I pull my phone from my pocket, my fingers shaking so badly I almost dropped it. No signal, zero buzz. Malome, I sobbed in the darkness, losing all composure. Malome Jackson. The creature crushed. The creature crouches on the steering wheel, peering down at me in the footwell. Up close, I see the ritual scars carved into its cheeks, symbols of dark Muti, ancient witchcraft used to bind a foul soul spirit to a physical form. The creature is not just an animal, it's a weapon created by someone in the village who wishes my bloodline dead. It reaches down, its cold, wet claws brushing against my ankles, brushing against the ankles of my jeans. The touch is bitterly cold. It bends through the denim, numbing my skin instantly. Your blood is sweet, boy. The voice rasped my brain, just like your father's. Panic sparks a surge of adrenaline. I kick out with my free leg. My heavy boot catches the creature squarely in the chest. It lets out a high-pitched, terrifying shriek, a sound like a dying pig, and tumbles backward off the steering wheel. I don't wait. I grab the passenger door handle, shove the door open, and throw myself out into the high grass of the veldt. I hit the ground hard, rolling onto my shoulder, skin tearing against sharp thorn bushes. I scrape my feet and run. I don't run towards the road. The open path made me an easy target. I dive straight into the dense bushes, tearing through the acacia thorns that rips my shirt and arms. Behind me, I hear a terrifying past pat 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 on heavy four-legged stride, tearing through the underbush. It's hunting me. In the veldt, you cannot outrun a tokolosh. They are fast, tireless, and cruel. They play with their prey before the final strike. My lungs burn like fire. The moon is hidden behind thick storm clouds, leaving me visually blind. Running on pure instinct, I trip over an exposed root, crash violently to the earth, and pitched forward into a small clearing. I scramble backwards until my spine hits something solid and rough. The truck, the trunk of a massive ancient baobab tree. The footstep stops at the edge of the clearing. I sit frozen, chest heavy, weeping blood and sweat from my eyes. The dark woods surround me, a wall of the living shadow. From the tree line, two burning red eyes emerge, then another pair and another. My breath hitches. The creature did not come alone. The primary beast steps into the clearing, walking upright now on shortened, bowed legs. On either side of it, two shadowy figures creeps on all fours, shifting like smoke, but filled with the same predatory instinct. They move in a slow circle, hurting me against the trunk of the baobab. There is nowhere left to run, child of the sun, the leader rasps, raising its clawed hands. I reach blindly behind me, my fingers digging into the dirt, searching for a rock, a heavy stick, anything. My hand brushes against a hollow in the baobab trunk. Inside the hollow, my fingers touch cold metal. I pulled it out. It is an old rusted pangak knife. It's a blade wrapped in dried black leather and bounded with red thread. An old offering left at the secret 3 years ago to ward off evil. My uncle's words suddenly echoed in my mind. The dark spirits are bound by old blood. They answer to the earth. As the head creature leaps through the air towards me, its jaws wide, I don't try to dodge. I pull the panga from its sheath, slice the edge across my own palm, and howl the blood-stained steel upwards into the darkness. The iron blade clutches the beast in the center of its chest. A sound tears through the night, not a roar, but an agonizing, inhumane shriek that vibrates through the very ground beneath my feet. The moment my blood touches the ancient iron embedded in its flesh, the creature ignites into a burst of pale, sickly green fire. It thrashes wildly, clawing at its own chest, but the fire consumes it in seconds, turning its dark skin to ash. The other two shadows screech in terror, dissolving back into the darkness of the trees as their master vanishes into cinder. The clearing falls dead silent once more. I slump against the trunk of the baobab, clutching my bleeding palm to my chest, grasping for air. The green flames die down, leaving only the small osiers and bent hair hanging in the night air. Slowly, the clouds above part and pale light of the moon washes over the clearing. The crickets slowly begin to chirp again in the distance. I am alive. I stand up on trembling legs, wrapping my bloodied hand in a strip torn from my shirt. I walk back towards the road, keeping my eyes fixed ahead, never looking into the tree line. I know I survived the night, but as I reach the edge of the dirt track, I see the distant yellow light of a search party truck bouncing down the road towards me. A chill settles deep into my bone. The creature spoke of my father. It spoke of a death, and I step onto the gravel. I hear a faint, distant whisper carried on the night wind, a soft, wet, clinging sound coming from a direction of my village. Someone brought that thing here, and tomorrow I will find out who.